think people want something to connect to. So I think that it helps a lot that if you believe what you're talking about, if you're being honest, if you're being truthful, I think that comes across as something that's more powerful than picking the right piece of gear. I think that if those things come into line, that ultimately you could probably use a 57 and it wouldn't really matter. It's kind of what it comes down to. If it's sincere, then the rest of it's alright. Thinking outside the box is just... I don't think it's being intentionally being abnormal. It's just accepting that if you think of it, you can probably do it now. The main thing that I end up doing is given time within the project, I just run stuff to pedals, and then it means that I have hands-on with what I'm doing. It's pretty normal for an idea not to be original now, that someone else is going to have done it before me. Whether they've spoken about it or not is another thing, but I just wouldn't be like, oh yeah, like I'm the one that did it. It's just the thing that I think about doing. I want to having interactivities makes something a bit more unique rather than just sticking on a preset. Well, I use the Slate VMS for everything. So, and that's simply because I can't afford, or couldn't when I bought it, afford multiple £1,000 microphones. And I also didn't know what a vocal was supposed to sound like based upon those microphones that are unobtainable. So like, I had experience with 7Bs, 58s, C414s, some earlier SE mics, and they always sounded a bit... I didn't know what I was listening for to know that what I was hearing was correct. And there wasn't really an easy way to go, by the way, that's where you're supposed to be starting from, and then you build from here, and then these are the things that you're noticing when a mic does change. Yeah, but there's also being able to identify the things within a microphone that could be hazardous if stacked. So you can't go and just put a C800 on everything. You'll be in pain. Like, that's why it ends up on rap vocals, because everything else is sparse and you've got nothing contesting the vocal, so you can afford to have this very bright, clear, dynamic vocal that sits within something that itself is not very dynamic. But you can't stack that, multiples and multiples, within something that's really dense, because then all you're going to do is start exaggerating plosives and sibilants. It's just about being content aware rather than trying to be too smart, I think. So I don't like tracking really bright. I don't like that, because then it means that I can't work for very long. So if I track slightly darker, I can then make it brighter later when I am mixing. So then I'll typically pick sources, or want to pick sources that are pleasant to listen to whilst still being dark. I'm not talking like ribbon dark, but we're talking things that do not exaggerate something that isn't there. When it comes together, it's just a bit more like velvet. So, 5 top tips. So, out of the 5, the first one that I'd be most mindful of is the environment in which you're tracking in. If you have the option of other rooms or other spaces to work within, I will go and scout out where the best, I say best, location to be is the room that's going to be least dominating when someone's singing. So, you know, we're talking stuff like that isn't a kitchen or isn't a bathroom, unless that's what you're specifically looking for. Ideally something that's going to allow you to have it on the drier side, so that when you do need to EQ or you do need to compress, you're not going to be bringing up characteristics of that space that are ugly. Number 2 would be headphone bleed, and ensuring that you're going to give the person that you're recording headphones that doesn't make your life hell. So you're going to need to try and find something that's just going to be comfortable for the person using them for hours on end, and also makes your life easier so that even if they have it cranked up, you're not going to get any spill, so that you're not compressing or EQing stuff that shouldn't be there. Number 3, with the room and the bleed done, or headphone bleed done, then you get to pick mic and determine whether, if they've got a bright voice, you need something darker. If they've got a low voice, you don't really want to be accentuating that. So you pick things that are, I say opposites of each other, but things that complement. And then the preamp that you use is then to exaggerate things that you like even further. Number 4, preamp. So you got room, bleed, mic picked. Now preamp for exaggerating the thing that you like the most. That becomes like tricky, because even I don't have that down. I still can't hear super tiny preamp changes, but there are things that are different. APIs are fast, Neves are slow, tubes are thick, the end. Like that one, when if you've got something that's super bright, you want to stick it through super dark. You try and get it balanced out, and hope for the best, I guess. And then 5 is all that's done, then just make sure you're not over baking. When I started out, it was really easy to sort of overcook stuff. Too much of this, too much of that. The general rule of thumb that I got given was, when you find something that you like, divide it in half, and then you're safe.